Scouts to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight we have a community service recognition for the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 463. Mike?
Good evening, council members. It's my honor to present the Boy Scout Troop 436 to you tonight. This is a few members of an exceptional group of young individuals. On the 21st of November, 12 of them came out to the airport, and part of being a Boy Scout is being prepared. So in order to help the community be prepared for any potential flooding that may occur, they filled 1,000 sandbags for this community in 3 hours. They worked very hard. It did cost me some pizza, but hey, it's okay. Teenagers work for pizza. That's something you learn when you're a Boy Scout leader. So I just wanted to present them to you tonight and let you know those sandbags are available at the yard for those people that would have difficulty filling their own. There's also sandbags available at the airport and at Fire Station number 2 if people would like to fill their own.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Did you get a badge for that? No? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Velasquez. City Council members Clower.
Here.
Gomez.
Here.
Friend.
Yes.
Luna. Present. City Manager Avera.
Present.
City Attorney Diaz.
Here.
Chief of Police Westrick.
Here.
And City Clerk Graves.
A verification of agenda posting, please.
The agenda for the City Council of the City of Hollister regular meeting of December 7, 2015 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on November 30, 2015 at 11:50 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. We'll move on to item A, which is the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent resolution calendar will be enacted by one motion authorizing the actions indicating for those items so designated. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless requested by a member of the City Council or a staff member. Do we have any numbers that we want to pull?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor. I'd like to pull number A3 and A5.
Any others? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approve the card submitted for A1, please.
Once again, I'll read the instructions. No separate discussion on these items unless requested by a member of the City Council or a staff member. So we'll go on to item number 3.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor. I am just wondering if the city manager can give us some detail as to how many times safety training is actually presented to the employees of the city of Hollister.
Well, at the yard, the public works folks, I think they go through a tailgate session on a pretty regular basis. Safety training, when a new piece of equipment arrives, everybody usually goes through an introduction of that piece of equipment, and safety measures are taken from that perspective. When we have other larger sessions, it's usually probably about once a year we have general safety meetings. Otherwise, it's on a pretty regular basis. The yard keeps a record of employee safety trainings that usually goes in their personnel files as those things exist, as well as all the other trainings that we do, whether it's AB 1234 or any of the ethics and harassment trainings. We usually try to keep as track of that as often as we can, or we keep track of those.
So what you are saying is this happens once a year?
I would have to go back and look at what the yard has done, or if Mike has something off the top of his head. But generally speaking, when we have safety trainings, and like I said, other than the tailgate sessions that happen on a pretty regular basis, he can describe maybe about a specific event or occurrence in which some things are discussed. Different things are discussed, obviously, depending on the day.
And what alerts me to bringing this to the attention and for transparency as well is the fact that it seems like in our agendas there's been quite a few claims filed within the against the city, and I'm thinking what about this training, safety training that employees need to be aware of, because after all it involves employees.
I understand. We had a safety training as recent as this morning for working out in the cold, because obviously it's cold and that's an issue. And that's what we call a tailgate meeting, where we get everybody together for 5, 10, 15 minutes, discuss a topic in depth, give them some direction, and go on. Quarterly, I've implemented what I call the safety sit-down down. And that's only things that have to happen, like the water testing that occurs daily. Those people go out. Everybody else stays at the yard until all the vehicles have been gone through completely. All the lights have been checked. All the equipment's checked. All the first aid kits are checked. All that's done, and that's done quarterly. And then annually, they receive bloodborne pathogen training if they're exposed to those things per state law. They receive forklift training biannually, I think is what the state law is on that. They receive fall protection training annually. So each one of those individual things they do receive as is required. Furthermore, anytime we do purchase a new piece of equipment, we have the manufacturer come to the site and train everybody on the piece of equipment, whether it takes 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, until everybody can operate the equipment properly.
Okay, so I'd like to request a report for our next meeting, if all possible, in regards to what departments have taken what training. And that would be my request.
Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
And as far Councilman Luna, as far as claims are concerned, I mean, I've been here about 20 years now, and it's pretty regular that we have 1 to 2 to 3 claims tops on almost every agenda. I mean, historically, that's just how it is when you're operating in a city of this size. So.
Right, and the concern again is, what employees are being trained on the fact that, you watch out for traffic, you watch out who's behind you, you watch out if you're driving a city vehicle. You sure don't want to wreck into somebody else or a resident of the city. So that would be my concern. That's it.
Did you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve A3.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We'll move on to item A5. Again, Mickey?
Yes, that is I pulled that. And also, first of all, I just want to commend you and Councilmember Clower for all the work that you have and the time you have taken to actually look over the proposals, which will help the nonprofit world, or actually organizations in the city of Hollister. I was hoping that $100,000 would be the amount included here. I'm seeing where $92,050 is being allocated. And just as a commentary, being that $7,950 are still there, I would like to maybe make a suggestion to look into the fact that now that the city has a student advisory committee, that we maybe consider setting aside at least $5,000 for any expenses that we may incur for students involved in the committee, the advisory committee to the city council. And that's just my request.
I think I can answer both those questions.
Great.
One, the reason why you don't see $100,000 spent was $8,500 was already committed to the Senior Alliance. It was to pay back for what we hadn't paid for in the last 2 years. So that was already spoken for. So we didn't really have $100,000 to spend. We only had 82, or 92, excuse me.
Okay, and at
And
the
then-
last meeting, I realized that came up, that subject, it came up. And when I asked the question whether it would be part of the 100,000, I was told it was not.
That may be what you were told, but that's
Yeah.
not what we were instructed on.
So then you're
So
telling me that
there may be
85
another $8,000 in there, and we'll talk about that down the road.
Okay.
But the other thing about the students program is we have just now sent out the requests for invites for people that want to join, and I was going to wait until we got the committee set, and then we were going to try and come up with a budget, and then have a budget request come through. I don't think it'd be appropriate to fund a committee like that with the nonprofit fund.
Okay.
But all these come out of the general fund, so I guess we could use that money to do that.
Right, and also you will be receiving reports from the various nonprofits that are being funded.
That was part of their application, that they respond to us of how they're using the money.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do, but I want to hear from the public first.
Are there any questions or speaker cards?
Yes, sir. There is one speaker card, Mr. Bob Campbell. Oh, sorry, Mr. Snow. You'll be next.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Friend and council members. My name is Bob Campbell. I'm at 234 Santa Cruz Avenue in Aptos. I'm the director of the foster grandparent program. We submitted a grant, but I didn't notice our name on the list of funders. So I just thought I'd come up and say thank you for your support of social services and nonprofit services in the city of Hollister. I think that's terrific. A little disappointed that we were not funded. Thought I'd just take a minute or two to tell you a little bit more about our program, some of the benefits it can bring the city, and maybe we'll get a grant next year. Our request was for $12,500. That will be matched, would have been matched by a grant that we received from the federal government. We need to raise a 10% match in order to get all of our funds. That would have made the total value of the grant $125,000. What we do is we recruit low-income seniors, and when we train them and put them into preschools and elementary schools to work with students who are having trouble achieving academically. The 12 foster grandparents are trained and screened before going into the school sites. They work individually with the teachers, who assigns them to specific students with specific goals for improvement in the areas of academic performance, social and emotional development skills, logic and math skills, language and literacy skills, and large and small motor skills. They will serve 55 students at 6 different schools, including Gavilan, Lad Lane, Sunny Slope, Calaveras, and the Head Start program. In all, they will provide more than 12,000 hours of volunteer time. The students will improve by a minimum of 70% in those areas, and the foster grandparents get a $2.65 an hour stipend for their work, which amounts to about an extra $2,300 of income for them. National study of foster grandparents has showed that the extra income they get helps them with the cost of housing, food, medication, transportation, and utilities. I am happy to take whatever amount of money might be scratched together at any point throughout the year to continue to be able to serve and provide our program in the city of Hollister. Not getting funding in reality will not decrease the amount of services that we're currently providing. Currently, we have 14 foster grandparent volunteers at the different school sites serving 61 students, and we'll continue to do that because that's what we're committed to do. Again, thanks for your time, and thanks for your support of nonprofits in the city
Thank
of
you.
Hollister.
Thank you.
Any questions?
The next speaker is Keith Snow, who has written on the card, we don't need to regulate nonprofits, so we need to regulate nonprofits so we don't have scammers like the lady from the Little League. We need to protect the people's best interest.
And the beds of $400,000. And we look in the newspaper, and the news, and I went there, and you got our whole system's messed up between counties in the city. Because for a fact is, she got fined $32,000, 3 months in jail, right? But for a fact is, she embezzled $400,000 for nonprofit. So what I'm getting at, we should regulate that I mentioned before. Our city, our manager, you, Westwick, the captain, right? My chambers, right? Should regulate in the plan that we already got to do. Because it seems like we're not planning nothing. We let easy things off. When I did a job, I got 3 over there. I put 3 on the agenda, right? And in the board, we get sued along the city. But things go on, like we have training, but it seems we're not doing our job. I just don't see it. We can bear our city, Brain the county as Lucas. We let things go on, and my public comment, and I can like that part to what I discovered on the website. In fact, proof. Look at my website. You see all what's going on in the city. I comment everything in the paper. What's in the paper, what's written. So points, right? So what gets me is you see it, you guys ignore it, and everyone wants money. We want money. You got the phone, we earn the money. Salaries of our employees. Really more training, new coordination, new coordinate our city, our county. We're not doing that. We're not doing it at all. I'm not going to speak here, waste my breath. You guys will listen when you're out the other. You guys think you're doing things good? Not doing nothing for our city. You're a public servant up there. And I don't see it. I see a lot of favoritism. I see that a lot. I see that very a lot. You can't be involved in our city. So point is right. I can speak here and waste my bad time, you guys. And you guys are all professional people with businesses. But all I see, we can get what taxpayer pays for your salaries. Thank you.
To answer your question, Mr. Snow, on the invite for the request for all the money that's being given out this year, all of the nonprofits will report back to the council on what they're doing with the money. Thank you very much.
And Veronica Lizama.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and City Council members. My name is Veronica Lezama, and I'm president of the Mexican American Committee on Education, MACE, of San Benito County. And I just wanted to show my appreciation to the council for awarding these very much needed funds to MACE. We look forward in putting on a Latino young male summit here in the community. And for members of the public interested in participating, they can contact me. I can leave my information with the clerk. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the last card is Marty Richmond.
Good
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Mr. Pro Tem Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. Marty Richmond from Hollister. No matter how much money you find for the nonprofits, you're going to find out that there's more need than you're going to find money for. So I don't envy your position of trying to make a decision on where to spend it. I would recommend in the future, as we go forward, I think you ought to do something for the public so that the information is available to the public, easy for concerning these the groups that do get funded, and how much they use for their programs, how much they spend for executive compensation, how much they spend for fundraising. That's all available in a federal form that they have to file with the government. Federal form, I think the number is the 990. And I would ask that in the future, the city, as we move along, not today because it's not on the agenda, that you contact those groups that you're funding and ask for a copy of their federal form 990 and file it here at the city, so that if anybody's interested specifically in any particular group and they want to know what that group does, how much executive compensation there is, how many paid, most of them don't have very many paid people on their payroll. Most of them have a lot of volunteers, and usually some of the executives and some of the key people get paid. That's all. And then how much is spent for advertising, so on and so forth. Those are the key issues for nonprofits and charities both, and I believe 990 is the proper form. And you should ask. We should establish an ordinance or whatever it takes to say that that's going to be the way we operate. We're going to file for people we fund. We're going to file a copy of their 990 and even put it online so the people in the city can easily just pull it up and see who it is and what they do. If you can find it in the federal government websites, but it's a bit of a challenge to go through. Thank you for your time.
To answer that question, Marty, all of the applicants that we decided on did give us not the 990 form, but give us a breakdown on what the money was going to be spent for.
Yeah.
And if you saw the original request, some of these did not get all that they wanted because we didn't want to pay wages and travel expenses. We wanted just stuff that was going to be here in the city. So you're right,
I'm sure
absolutely right, but we'd
you.
have to ask them to do it. We can't publish that. So if the nonprofits want to bring it to us and make it public record, then we can do it.
Yeah. Since it is public record of the federal government, this is not like a personal income tax form. You can pull it up. It's just a challenge to get into the federal website and find it, but it's all there somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it's a much more difficult search. If you ask them to supply it, I assure you, since it is public record and open to the public, I assure you they will supply it, and I assure you they will agree that you could put it on the website. It's just something to think about. It's not something we can do overnight. Something to think about. It'll answer a lot of questions for people in the community who say, gee, who are they? What do they do? What's their, how much matching funds do they get from the federal government, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think in the long run, it'll save you a lot of aggravation. Not maybe tonight, sometime in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Vice Mayor, I'd like to add something in regards to what Marty just said. Actually, the business license sector of the city of Hollister requires nonprofits to receive an exempt business license. And I can tell you that some of these organizations listed here are on file with the finance department as an exempt business license, and all that information is required on the file. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Any other speaker cards?
There are no more cards, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Yeah, I don't, as one of the speakers said, I don't really envy you, both you and Councilmember Clower, for going through the applications and allocating this funding. I'm confident that you guys did your due diligence in providing this list for us. The only thing I'm going to say is I'm going to caution the council as we proceed. It's great to be here during during these fluffy times, but I've never allocated this amount of money to nonprofits. So, I mean, I hope the nonprofits appreciate it, but it's not going to be forever. I just want to make that clear. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was, that's an overwhelming amount when we were usually looking at, I believe, about $8,000 in the last couple of budget sessions, so you're right. Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve A5, the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much. We'll move on to item C. Item B, there is no business. Item C, public input. This is a portion of the agenda where a member of the public may address the city council related to any matter within the city's jurisdiction. That is not on the agenda. If the subject relates to an agenda item, the speaker should address the city council at the time the item is considered. Oral comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Speaking cards will be available at the council chambers and are completed and given to the city clerk prior to discussion. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and speak to the city council. Please note that the state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any cards?
Yes, sir. The first speaker is Julie Vieira.
Good evening, council members. I would just like to remind everyone, excuse me, that the Wreaths Across America ceremony is this Saturday at the Calvary Cemetery, and there we will be honoring all of our veterans. So those of you who are here and out in TV land that can attend, please do, because it's a very touching ceremony, and this is the first time that we will be doing it in San Benito County. So I invite everybody to attend at 9 o'clock, Calvary Cemetery on Hillcrest Road. Thanks.
Thank you. Now I don't have to bring it up during my speak.
The second speaker is Keith Snow.
Canadian Council. One thing for AT on expenditures, because I put that on the agenda, so you forgot that we need to go back to Sophia brought to speak and a lot of things. I did everything on the agenda. Let me put you guys' attention. This was West District City Manager in the mayor not here. For one thing, business is exempt, like I see a lot of business exempt. The mayor's vault. American Electric is exempt, depends on nonprofits. And that means, if you look online, for someone 1% disabled, they're on the bins. And another one, I want to pay attention to. And you should know that, Raven. Yeah, kids, make as kids, especially, friends be saying this too. But our kids are hurting. They're not heroin. Do heroin is methamphetamine, cocaine. I Google on my internet. And Western knows this. This has been going on since 2002, 2013, and 14 now. Want to know how we got 3 police officers to soft salaries for a school district. And our kids are hurting. They know to go but do drugs. Their heroines, Simon. If you look online too, when Mary put on the healthy aisle, the outlet of grocery, also grocery, on there on that page, the article, it says 72% Seaton County has TD. Transmitted disease. I mean, we have a heart. You have kids in school. What are we doing? It's embarrassing for our city and county that knows all this. Heroin, think about heroin, slamming, drugs, strong cocaine, methamphetamine. What are we doing? I mean, I don't get this. Oh, I mean, our police officer, management here, manager, district, captain, guess what are you guys on vacation or what? And I never complete this. I've been so busy doing help for my friends in Sacramento, work on projects, helping them for free, my services. And I appear to tell me all the time, right? And finally I Google it Friday. And I told what's going to say today. Well, I'm going to speak on this. Here and think about it. We need a job in the city.
Thank you,
Help
Mr.
the
Snow.
kids.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Next.
Gordon Machado.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Gordon Machado. I'm on the Airport Commission. Chairman Dean Judd is ill tonight, so requested that I speak tonight. We appeared before you 2 meetings ago, I believe, at a public input, and the reason was the homeless location at the airport. We requested to be on the agenda prior to that, and it didn't happen. So we came to that meeting and expressed it under public input. As your Airport Advisory Commission, we were coming to you to interact with you and express our concerns about the location of the homeless. So it didn't happen. We again requested it be, because we weren't on that agenda, we requested again, and again tonight we're not on your agenda. So what we're requesting is to be on your agenda somewhere, for we can express to you and interact with you our concerns about the homeless location.
Thank you.
Christina Chavez Wyatt.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, friend, council members. My name is Christina Chavez Wyatt. I'm here on behalf of Farmhouse Communication and a member of Coalition of Residents and Businesses within the Airport District, as well as some concerns with the Business Council, though I'm not speaking on their behalf this evening. Echoing the concerns of Mr. Machado, and unfortunately, I was not on the agenda to reflect just concerns the way that public input was reflected in the minutes of the meeting. Although we expressed concerns and opposition to the county's evaluation of siting a homeless service center at Flynn Road and Aerostar Parkway, our request is to have an informative presentation and as a more of a broad, big picture presentation regarding and hopefully bringing in City Manager Bill Avera, Assistant City Manager Mike Chambliss, staff, your Chief Dave Westrick, to give an update information regarding the Commission's activity, the airport themselves, the marketing and economic development, the staff's interaction at a recent trade show that was paid for and commissioned by the city, the airport's new excellent website, their promotional videos and advertising, their new trade show booth. We'd really like to just have a broad picture update, as well as to invite the county to again give an update on their consideration of Homeless Services Center. I also wanted to seek correction of the minutes of the spelling of my name, as well as that of Jim Wrightingsward, who is the Health and Human Services Agency Director. So again, please, at your next update, our possible ability to schedule an update, informative presentation, and discussion would be greatly appreciated. I also wanted to offer an update. It's been great to work with Brett and a subcommittee that's been established on what's to be named likely the Grow San Benito Fund, which is the investment of your revolving loan program for small businesses that was invested earlier this year with the Fresno Community Development Financial Institution. So we are looking to promote these funds and get small businesses to apply for those funds to help grow and support small businesses in this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ms. White, I'm happy to make the corrections on the name spellings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graves.
Ruth Erickson.
Hi, Ruth Erickson from Hollister. I'm going back to A5 and asking if there is a list, or if you're going to read out, perhaps at the next meeting, those organizations that were given grants or will be given grants, because it says on here to approve the supplemental appropriation. So you approved it tonight. When will you be designating those organizations?
You want me to answer now?
I think you could answer that question.
Okay. Ruth, if you look at the complete packet in the hall, under A5, you will see the list of organizations that received the money and the dollar amount. They're both in the transmittal and in the resolution.
But wouldn't it be nice to actually announce it at a city council meeting? I would think, so that everybody else knows and doesn't have to come and look at the binder.
Well, I can't answer that question, but I believe.
I have a report coming up, and I will read you the list real quick.
Sounds good. Thank
you. Any other cards?
No, sir. I have no more other cards.
Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I decided to come up on public speaking. I'm sorry. This is concerning the funding for the nonprofits. I didn't see the list, so I really didn't know if our agency, Jóvenes, was going to get funded. But if we did, I just want to wholeheartedly thank you for your support. On behalf of my board of directors and myself and the seniors and elderly of this community, we really, really thank you for the support because it's so much needed. I just wanted to thank you. Thank you.
That's it for my part.
Nobody else wants to speak? All right, we'll move on to item D1, City Manager's oral report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Friend. Vice Mayor Friend, I apologize. The awardees of the nonprofit are the list of names. There's 12 of them. If you'll bear with me for just a minute, I'll go through those. Number one, and in no particular order, I will read them off. Girls Inc. of the Central Coast, San Benito County, San Benito County Arts Council, Jóvenes de Antaño, Young Readers Program, Court-Appointed Special Advocates of San Benito County, Community Solutions, the Advocacy Group, Women's Club of Hollister, Chamberlains, Friends of the Library, MACE, and San Benito Post number 69, the American Legion. Those are the 12 nonprofits receiving funding from the City of Hollister this year. In addition to that, if we heard a couple of speakers regarding a report or update on the Airport Commission. If it is the desire of the City Council, if you would like to have me agendize that for December 21st, I'd be more than happy to do that. I apologize that it didn't make it onto this agenda, but if I can get some consensus or a nod of the head, I will make sure that that gets on the agenda.
I thought it was going to be on this agenda.
I apologize. And that concludes my... Yeah, that's it for me tonight.
Okay. We'll move into public hearings. There's none. We'll move to F1. Introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. Item 1.
Good evening. This item is a introduction of an ordinance, Chapter 1024 of our municipal code, parking time restrictions on certain streets. What this item will do, it will introduce an amendment to the ordinance, which will establish 3-hour parking on 3 roads. Those roads are Flora Avenue, Gateway Drive, and Maple Street. The reason for this is that there is a number of vehicles that park there. they stay less than the maximum 72 hours, they move to a different part of the city, different part of the road. Makes it very difficult to enforce, parking restrictions. And so this will allow them to park for 3 hours, then they'll have to move. So, this will keep the business areas of Hollister as you're coming into town. As you know, Gateway Drive is where the hotel is being built. Flora Avenue will be on the city side of Flora, which is the south side. And Maple Street is where the McDonald's and post office is. We looked at this, and this will allow people to park their car on the street, do business in the establishments that they would like to, and return prior to, usually, it's going to be within an hour or so, but this will give them 3 hours of taking care of their business. It will not affect ADA parking or future ADA parking spaces in that. With that, our recommendation is that you introduce and move on to the next step.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Carson? Yeah. So first off, I do support the ordinance because I think there's a pretty big problem with the number of old motorhomes that are parked on these streets. That being said, I think this is going to be a Band-Aid. It's going to be good for the businesses that are on those streets that are covered, but it's only going to move those people who are living in the motorhomes down the block or to another part of town. So I think if we're looking at I think we're going to need to look at an ordinance that covers a lot more area than this, whether it's complete districts or zones or the city as a whole. This isn't going to fix the problem. It's just going to move it. And I'm with staff that we need to do something about Gateway Drive because people are coming and investing money right there, and you don't want to have a bunch of people living on the street in front of people who are paying to live to stay in a hotel. But that being said, this might end up in front of somebody's house, and it's just going to move the complaints to a different area. So my hope is that in the future we come up with something a little bit more all-encompassing.
Any other comment?
Yeah, ditto. That's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, I appreciate I appreciate this. I mean, I think it's good, especially with the investment going on Gateway Drive. But I'm just kind of wondering where my question was going to be. Where do you anticipate that moving? Because they're going to move somewhere else in the city. So I support Councilmember Clower's comments. I think overall we need to look at more of a broad solution. But I'm glad this is coming forward. It's important, but we need more of a broad solution. Thanks.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor. I've seen what is going on, and I believe I've called it to the attention, especially on Gateway Drive. And there's a garbage bin there also, and it seems like everybody's just dropping everything in there as well. So I think that area, actually, because of the new hotel that is coming in and the business around there, I think this is just the beginning, because there's so many other lots that I have witnessed where people are parking even behind stores and in the parking areas. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sure how it's going to be handled by the police department, or how you are actually going to be able to be out there, reviewing this. But this is a start. So thank you, Dave.
If I may, Mr. Pro Tem, let me answer that. This was at my request for the 3-hour parking. I agree with Councilman Clower and Councilman Gomez. This is a Band-Aid for now. We do need to take a more comprehensive look at this issue globally for the whole city. I don't have the answers right now, but we'll work on it.
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure about Flora, but I know on Maple Street it is getting to be very hard to get down that street sometimes during the day with motorhomes parked alongside. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get into the DMV. It's hard to get into McDonald's. So I agree with this ordinance, but I kind of hear what everybody's saying too. They're just going to move to another spot, and we're going to be doing an ordinance every month. So maybe we should look at. Maybe the chief can give us some help on anticipating where that might happen, and maybe we can broaden this out a little further. But I do support this measure.
Do we have, Vice Mayor, I apologize, do we, just a quick question, I think I already know the answer, but at least along Gateway, do we have the adequate on-site parking for those businesses that are there, daycare and all that stuff?
Yes, we should have, each of the businesses should have their adequate parking for customers and staff.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all relatively new developments with our new development
with those
standards.
requirements, yeah.
So they should have all that.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
Are there any speaker cards?
Yes, sir. There's one speaker card, Marty Richmond. I don't have a speaker card for you, Mr. Snow, but I'm happy to call you.
Thank you, Marty Richmond from Hollister. I would like to have just supported this without comment because I was down Maple Street the other day, and it was unbelievably bad. And so it looked like a campsite. Okay, that was the best description I could give it. An actual description wouldn't be worth giving what was going on there. But I have one issue with this proposal, and that is the DMV. The DMV doesn't have adequate parking. If you've ever seen when they're crowded, their parking lot is absolutely full, and everybody else has got to park somewhere else. So I was just wondering if we know that you can get in and out of the DMV in 3 hours. I'm not sure that's true. If you don't have an appointment. Oh no, I didn't mean it to be a joke. If you don't have an appointment, I went in there to do something a couple of months ago, and I did have an appointment. And when I sat down, just wait to get the appointment counter, and they called a number, and somebody had a number like 50 numbers away was sitting in their hand, and they said, "I've been here all morning," and so. I am concerned that people going to the DMV are not going to have an adequate place to park. Maybe that's not a direct way to solve your problem because it's a problem. But I don't know. It would be interesting to just, while we're working on this, and it's always subject to change in the future, we ask the DMV folks, what is the average, what's the long time for turnaround for people with no appointment? Can you get in there and out of there in 2 hours? I'll bet you there's people who've been in there and out of there in over 3 hours. In which case, when their DMV parking lot's full, what are those people going to do? They're going to wind up with a ticket. So that's the only concern I have. As far as getting a general rule, I think I would support that 100% because, yes, you are correct. All the four of you are correct. And if the mayor was here, he'd be number 5 and he'd be correct too, because it's just the problem's going to just move somewhere else. And you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and I've pointed this out 100 times, because as long as housing costs $500,000 to buy anything decent in California, especially in Northern California, it's what you're going to get. People are living, they know if you go to a no-cost campsite, which is Maple Street, and you can live out of your van, okay? If you go to KOA or something, it's still $30 or whatever it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Mr. Keith Snow.
To the card there too. But I'll say, I think we did this before. And another thing too, that not the DMV, the post office too, this time of year. You may implement things, but one thing we need to do is have our core person, Mike Chalmers, do his job. To demote him because it seems like he's for the parts. He needs to drop. Eco enforcement. Not to that. Like when you're over there at McDonald's. That guy, another gentleman that's here before, right from Mayor Northam. They're dealing from the houses, they're dealing from McDonald's, Stells, and all RVs. What we need to do, I seen the thing in Monterey too, and Seaside. You guys should do RV for the homeless people, like a place where they can park. So with city management or the manager over there, Mike, management, Waitrick, Captain, you guys head together and find an area, and you guys should find an area where the RVs can park. So it won't be down in Maple Street by McDonald's. So that's the idea, give you guys for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snow.
You're welcome.
There are no more speaker cards, sir.
Bring it back to the council. What is the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Measure passes 4-0. We'll move on to item G, which is the reports of city council officers, boards, and committees. Ms. Luna, would you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. On November the 23rd, I attended the City Council session with the Planning Department, which proved to be very interesting in regards to housing projects and developments within the city of Hollister. And that's my report.
Okay. Carson?
Yes. I do not have any committee meetings, but I just want to remind everybody that the youth committee applications are out for 12 to 18-year-olds. And I'm specifically trying to remind Hollister Dual Language Academy and the Accelerated Achievement Academy, because I think that those guys might have slipped.
I talked to them.
Oh, you talked to them too? Okay, good. So then they've been reminded probably 3 times now, so that's good. I think we're looking at is it the 14th? The 14th is the deadline for the application, so please get a hold of those. They're only a page long. Get them turned back in to the city clerk. Thank you.
Nothing to report.
I have a couple committees that I attended. On 3rd of December, we had a meeting of the San Benito County Fire Protection Committee, and on the agenda we got a station update on Station 4. The contracts were all signed, the 3-year deals. We got a report from the chief on career development plans, and it was a short meeting. And the chairman of the meeting wasn't there, so it was a short meeting. And then the other committee that I went to that same morning was the San Benito County Intergovernmental Committee, and there on the agenda we went through the status, the assessment needs a status on the library, the joint use facilities needs assessment status. We decided to hold a special meeting, and I believe it's on December 16th or 23rd. I can't promise if I remember that right. The only thing on the agenda will be future development issues, and you're all welcome to come to that. It's going to be, the primary goal will be to get the county to give us their heads up on what the future developments look like, and then what issues we see coming over that. And that was all there was on that. Any reports from the I do have 2 requests for the next agenda. Everybody received an email that there is a 3rd promoter that is requesting time, Billy's time and my time, to approach us with a contract, to write a contract for the 2016 motorcycle rally. And I think Billy was going to bring it up just so that we give him permission to do that, to negotiate with them. Not saying it's going to be approved. I'm just saying we need to move forward on it. The council committed 3 years ago to back the rally for 5 years, and we do need to at least talk to these people and see what kind of contract we can get out of them. And the other request I have is, I would like the staff to bring back to the council the city ordinance on medical marijuana dispensaries in the city limits, and I would like the council to discuss it on on the next regular council agenda as to whether we can modify that or change it. If you would do that. And that's all I have. City Manager, do you have a report?
Did you, so you did the committees, did you want to go through the informational reports before you get to
Yes.
me? Okay.
So the informational reports will come from Vicki. Do you have anything?
I wanted to report that I attended the 2015 Municipal Finance Institute in San Diego, December 2nd and 3rd. Very interesting on sales tax reform for California, public employee retirement benefits reform, and revenue measures for November 2016. Very important. There was a lot of discussions. There was over 200 people attending that one financial sessions. And so I have brought back some information that I do want to share with the City Council. And also, I don't know how many of you are aware, but I really want to congratulate the Hollister Vikings Pop Warner team. They are in Orlando, Florida, and they're playing a championship game. And folks, they're from Hollister, California. So I just want to give them an applause because I really think they deserve it. So, go Vikings. So, thank you.
Carson?
No reports.
Victor, your report?
Yeah, I want to request. I put in this request, I think, back in September or October to present an ordinance on the illegally placed donation bins throughout the city. We're seeing them everywhere, and I think our city attorney group was going to work on some type of ordinance banning the bins. So I was hoping to get an update on that. It could be offline. That's totally fine. I just want to see kind of where we are with that. The bins are popping up absolutely everywhere, and people are trying to dump stuff on the side of them, thinking that other folks are going to miraculously pick it up. So, so I'd like to see an update on that. And in regards to the rally, I have concerns, and I don't know how much I could actually say, but I have concerns moving forward. It seems like whenever we bring another manager, they always seem to be fairly shady characters. And I'm not sure if that's the norm in the business, but I'm not sure if I'm looking. I'm not sure if I'm really looking forward to working with another shady character. And I'm not saying this individual is, but the promoter from last time still owes us a ton of money, and I'm not willing. I'm not willing to have a discussion about having another promoter until we're paid in full for the last rally. The air show, I think, lost like $10,000, and we had an uproar. The rally lost $100,000, and nobody's saying anything. So I'm not gonna. I have no interest in allowing staff to communicate with the with the new promoter. Thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead.
I would like to add something to that as well. I do have a major concern, especially when we haven't been paid for the rally for last year and the amount that is owing. And yet we are sitting here thinking that we are going to continue discussion on another contract, a contract that possibly some of us have never been involved with or just recently read it. I have an issue with that. So I'm not sure where this is going to go, but just so you are aware that we still have unfinished business to deal with the last rally. That's my comment.
Well, I do have a quick comment on that, and that's, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. Hopefully we've learned some things over the last couple contracts, and we will have a little better deal. But I understand what you're saying. The other two things I wanted to bring up is on December 19th, we are having the wreaths across America at the on the 12th. I'm sorry, right, on the 12th Saturday, and it's out at the Calvary. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is on December 19th, the veterans of both the VFW and the American Legion are having a Christmas dinner. Everybody's invited. The tickets are $15 for non-veterans. Veterans are free, but the families and everybody. And for kids under 12 years old, we will have toys for the kids. And Santa Claus is supposed to be there. He's a veteran too. And that's all I have. City Manager.
Thank you. Just a couple of things real quick. I wanted to personally thank Mike Chambliss and Cheryl Mullen from the City of Hollister, as well as the Leonardos. We attended MBAA a few weeks ago. It's a huge aircraft sort of conference and convention, and I learned a lot. I think we all learned quite a bit, but the most important thing I think is that we all spent a number of hours working the booth. I think I wanted to thank also Mike for preparing the trade show booth. I don't know if the council's had the pleasure of seeing it, but it actually is really a sort of a top-notch display, and I think we should be very proud of it. And I think we made some pretty good contacts. We learned quite a bit from various folks. There was other municipal airports that were there. We actually had some conversations with some folks in the Phoenix area, and we learned a little bit about some of the trials and tribulations that they went through last year during their Super Bowl run. So hopefully we'll be able to utilize some of that information. Kind of moving back onto the rally thing and whether or not we have something on the agenda for the 21st. Again, sort of like the Airport Commission, sort of the head nod is the council's desire to not bring anything back up onto the agenda, or do you want something agendized for further discussion? I kind of heard two yes and or not two yes, but I heard two sort of have concerns with that, and then I know I kind of heard that you wanted to have a discussion. So it is true that the city committed to a rally for 5 years. We're about 3 years into this thing, but I also don't know if necessarily the council committed to having it be in a situation where we're in constant flux and seeking to find the funding that is owed to us pursuant to various contracts. So I just want to make sure that I'm doing what the council wants to see in the future. So I think I heard Mickey say that you're not interested in seeing something on the agenda, and I think I heard Victor say something similar, but I wasn't sure about Councilperson Clower. And I just want to make sure this is policy decisions. These are your things, so I want to make sure that staff is doing exactly what you want us to do. So.
Yeah, I'm fine with having a conversation about the rally. At this point, I don't see how we can look at a proposal when we haven't gone out for proposals. If we're going to have the conversation, I think it should be, let's air it out a little bit about what happened last year, because I mean, we sit in closed session and we hear certain things, and then the next time I hear about it, it's in the paper. So I don't really know how that goes in. I think that you see kind of a one-sided viewpoint when it ends up in the paper, and it's not coming from staff or council. At the same time, the conversation has to be, is this sustainable? It seems like we're trying, but $90,000 is a lot of money. So I don't want to think about a proposal until we've had that conversation to if we even want to move forward with the idea of the rally.
Go ahead. And then finally, just something that kind of hit close to home for me. We don't need to dwell on it, but we had a tragedy in San Bernardino last week. Some of my family was not necessarily directly involved, but my brother retired from that department about 5 years ago, and he's gone back and volunteering his time. I just want to say thanks to really all the public employees across the nation. I mean, we sometimes do a very thankless job, but we don't ever expect something like that to actually happen to us, and so I'll leave it at that.
City Attorney?
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor. Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. Chief?
Ditto on the comments about San Bernardino. It was a pretty tragic day in the Southland, and I, like everyone else, was probably glued to their televisions that day. And again, I would like to thank all the law enforcement and the public people that were out there that day that did their job.
City Clerk?
The Deputy City Clerk and I attended the New Law and Elections Conference given by the League of California Cities. It's an annual conference. This year it was in San Diego. It's probably the best conference we attend all year. I have lots of new laws to share with you, and I'll be sending them out via email momentarily.
Okay. That's it for the reports. We'll move on to item number 3, estimated ballot measure costs for the 2016 presidential election. I think Mr. Gomez requested this estimate.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Friend. And thank you, Tom, for providing this information. I'm not really ready to act on this, unless obviously anybody else up here wants to do that. It was more for information. I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it's something that we should at least consider. But I needed to get the rough estimates of the numbers, and then I was also going to ask Tom for our deadline. I'm assuming that it's probably in August or so.
Yeah, it's our deadline is roughly 130 days from the date of the election.
Okay. All right.
So you're right. It's somewhere
July,
August.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Awesome. And thank you again for providing this information.
You're welcome.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break and let the students.
Hold up. What was the amount?
Anywhere between $28,000 and $40,000, probably closer to $40,000 than it will be to $28,000, because there has been 2 of the regional boards, a hospital board and a junior college board, have gone to district elections, which has caused a lot of re-precincting in San Benito County, particularly in the city of Hollister. So anytime you add more precincts, your ballot costs go up. So it's hard to say exactly how much. Last year the price was about $2.08 per voter. This year we know it's going to be more than that, but we don't know how much more it's going to be because we don't know how many candidates or how many measures or anything yet.
So just trying to do the numbers. In Hollister, we probably have maybe, was it 13,000 voters, 14,000 voters?
About that, yes.
So we're talking
high voter
$2 to put 3 or 4 inches of paper and ink on the ballot?
It's an actual dollar cost that's passed on from the county to us with no additional increase. It's just simply what the cost is to print the ballot based on our share of that cost.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but it seems really expensive.
It's very expensive, especially when you add in the translation.
Yeah. As far as the idea of going to a 4-year mayor, I think it's in the best interest of the city to go to a 4-year mayor. That way we can provide some stability and you don't have 3 votes up for election every term. That creates some pretty big turnover. And obviously not backing one candidate or another, but I think that being the mayor is not an easy job, and that if you don't have to run for re-election every 18 months, that'd be nice. And then you can, as one of the 2 people who will be hopefully be here next December for sure, it'd be nice to be able to know who you're working with for longer than 2 years at a time.
Okay. That it?
That's it.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break so the students can get their stuff signed, unless you guys want to stay for the whole meeting. We have one more item, but it's going to be a little while. So if the students want to leave, I don't blame you.
The kids are running the country already.
They're going to pick out your retirement home, Billy.
Because the revenues are just now coming in, and it's hard to kind of predict that first quarter. And we have a lot of estimated revenues because of that. And where we're looking at for total revenues, about 23%. Feel better because charges for services, we had quite a few revenues come in this last month, which will kind of bring that quarter up, or that percentage up by mid-year. So we're kind of just watching taxes. Sales tax appear to be low initially because of sales tax. Gas fuel prices going down. Usually, what the experts say is yes, fuel prices have gone down, but people are spending those monies elsewhere. We're just going to wait to see that. I'm hoping that leakage is not going out of the city. Nice thing about fuel, everybody needed gas before they leave home to go to work. So we'll see where that is, like I say, in the next quarter. And then, once again, other revenue includes the transfer in from the Measure E. Also, for expenditures, you'll see the 28% total, but that's mostly because 84% for the non-department is our payments for the side, our $1 million payment for the side fund. So that's a big hit to that total of $5 million. So I feel real comfortable. We'll be coming to you with a mid-year budget adjustments. I think there's going to be some fine tweaking, especially for the city council department. We want to look at that, and some other departments. There's some fine tweaking, but overall, everybody's running in between the 21 to 25%, which makes us feel very comfortable that we're going down the path correctly. We just need to watch the revenue a little bit, and we'll really look at it a little bit closer on coming to the second quarter. So the area that has always been a concern of council is engineering, allocating it to the projects. They're at, for salaries, 17%. Other compensation is a little higher, but that's because when we did the one-time incentive funds, that's where it went to other compensation. So we just need some time for that to smooth itself out. And then also for engineering, their engineering inspection revenue is at 70% of the revenue budget. So they're doing very good compared to the revenue. Fire department, their overtime, there was at year-to-date actual was 70,000. Our concern is that's at 44, especially that's almost, or it is double from last year, and we've been working with them. And their total personnel costs are about 26%. So in total, it's really close to what it should be, but we'll still monitor them. And then just kind of
that also might have a little bit to do with the season as well. Usually third quarter for fire, you tend to have a little bit more activity. As the winter starts to set in, it becomes less and less. So we'll see how it's going.
And then just what's happened during the first quarter. On 7/16, we paid the almost $1.2 million lump sum payment to CalPERS to pay off the police side fund. And then as kind of a side note, when we did the status of the year end for 14-15, council also approved another $1 million to pay off the public safety fire side fund. So 2 out of the 3 have been paid off, which I think is a great feat in itself. Great. And really, now any questions?
Any questions?
No, as always, Brett, awesome. We appreciate the the simple math that you include in here. Makes it easier for all of us. But it's always informative. So thank you.
And then I've always asked, is there any other concerns that you want added on there, taken off, anything to monitor?
No, it's personally, I like reading it the way it's formatted. It's easy to follow. Yes, there are some questions about some of the groups seem to be running a little high, but like you say, that's a one-time cost on some of those.
Right.
I do have a question on the finance department. No.
Hey, now.
On the city. Is it total finance? The city treasurer.
I think you're worried about the city treasurer.
City treasurer, we're at 47%. I still haven't met the lady, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from.
What I think part of it is the medical, and we got to see. We probably budgeted her at a single rate, and like I said, I don't know what her medical setting was, and then what we budgeted, but I know A lot of our medical savings with our negotiations kick in the last 6 months, so that might just be a little higher because we haven't had the savings yet. But I'll have to look at what we budgeted at compared to what the individual truly medical insurance that they're getting.
I have a a follow-up question, Brett. On the city council budget, is it an authorized expense for us to use some of our budget? Not that we necessarily want to when we're at 46%, but is it an authorized expenditure to use some of this funding, our council district funding for this youth commission?
Yeah, the council can use, really, it takes 3 votes for the budget appropriation, so you can budget whatever you choose.
So if you want to include that, as Councilmember Luna suggested earlier in the nonprofit discussion, if we wanted to allocate some of our funding specifically for that, since it was our idea to have this youth commission, would that be, as if we get 3 votes up here, that would be an authorized
Correct.
expense out of our budget?
And what I kind of see, when we bring the mid-year budget, there might be something like that in there for you.
I expected in February to have that committee set in place, and then we'll ask for
good time for that discussion.
Budget from the city council.
Great.
Right. And we usually bring, mid-year, that's when we really can see what, like I said, we tell during budget meetings with department heads, do not do any contingency budgeting. If something has happened in that time or something that we didn't foresee, that's what we bring to mid-year to correct it by year end.
Okay.
And also we see how revenues are doing to say if we recommend it or not recommend it.
Carson?
What is the treasurer's yearly stipend?
I think it's $300 a month. I'll have to relook. I'll get it.
I thought it was like $3,600 a year.
Yeah.
Okay, what is...
Get the same math.
You're right.
$300 a month.
But but my number was bigger than yours.
What is the each council member's yearly stipend?
His is 71 cents.
I should have looked. I got elected. I never looked. And
Sorry, that's an inside joke on that one. It's $500 a month. Or it's right?
Yeah. So
how come you're not driving a Ferrari?
Well, I thought it was less than that because
I thought that was the mayor. I thought ours was $350 and the mayor was $500.
I'll send you each one of you an email.
We make $300 and the federal government makes $200.
You're not going to retire on it.
Well, I know we give $22 a month to CalPERS for your retirement. So after you're here 4 years, you get a retirement from CalPERS.
Well, I guess my
About
question.
$3 a month.
My question is just a roundabout way to let everybody know that we don't necessarily do it for the money, and sometimes those are the comments that are made. If anybody's interested, I'll make my bi-weekly check available.
Well, some of us.
I'd like to add to that. Some of us may get the stipend, but we don't get any benefits at all. I'm retired from the city, so those benefits that I received as an employee, those are the ones that I received. But from city council, I have absolutely nothing except the stipend. So yes, I agree with Councilmember Carson. We're not here for the money. We are here as service to the residents of the city of Hollister. And Brent, thank you for the report. And I just want to ask if this report is also distributed to the department heads in advance that
this
we receive?
particular report has not. Every month I give them their department budget report that is more detailed so that we can go over that if they have any questions. And this is a very summary form of what I give them every month.
Right. Okay. I went through the whole report. I
Yeah.
circled every 100%. So I may come back at you to ask you a few questions about that. But I'm just wondering if the department heads are aware that at one line, certain line items are 100%
Correct.
expended.
And as a reminder, the line item is a management our manager's tool of how they're budgeting. What we look at is the overall total for the category. So they can move items between those line items,
Right.
but they're responsible for the category. So like personnel or services and supplies, that's where we want to see at every quarter, like say the first quarter, be under 25%, and then mid-year under 50, unless it's a one-item thing that they purchased. Sometimes like software licenses, they'll spend that in July and then they're at 100%. But we look at the category total.
So if there's a line item from a department that says it's 235% expended?
Yeah, we still look at the category total.
Okay. So I will still probably ask you a few
No
questions
problem.
later. Thank you.
And I do think maybe we need to look at something, because I would like to think that a city councilman that needs the medical would not have to pay for that, just because his stipend is not enough to cover his medical. I mean, it's hard to encourage people to run for office if it's going to cost them money to be here. Maybe we need to look at how we can restructure that or something. Or take Victor's money and give it to Carson. And that way.
Thanks, Victor.
Any other items? Thank you very much.
We did have a collection plate earlier for Carson.
Okay.
I said we had a plate. I didn't say how much.
Thank you for your report, Brett. That's good. We have items H, no business. Items I, J, and K, no business. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'd like to also include, in memory of the 14 victims of San Bernardino County, adjourn in their memory.
And I would like to include in remembrance of December 7th for the brave young people that served their country, and the 2,400 of them that didn't come home from December 8th. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.